New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is considering a run for New York governor. She's already making the case for a GOP win in 2026, saying, quote, Hochul is the worst governor in America. Her incompetence, corruption, and radical failed far-left policies have destroyed our great state, causing businesses and families to flee. President Trump seemingly getting behind the idea, posting on Truth Social, Congresswoman Elise Stefanik is great. And there's brand new polling from Marist finding less than 40% of New Yorkers approve of Hochul, and more than half of residents do not want her to run again. Let's bring in New York State Assemblyman Jake Blumencranz. Assemblyman, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Cheryl.
So what do you make of this idea of Elise Stefanik running for governor of New York?
To me, it sounds like a fantastic idea. We got a great crowd of candidates who are potentially going to be running this year or in the next election. We need to see leadership that actually listens to New Yorkers. We've seen crime on the rise. We have a holy trinity in here in New York. We have housing crisis, a migrant crisis, a cost of living crisis that's killing everybody. And Governor Hochul's touting new taxes. Right now we have $250 billion budget here in New York we're negotiating at this very moment, and it is a disaster. It is good money after bad, and it continues to hurt New Yorkers without creating solutions. I think she'd make a fantastic candidate, and she stood up against anti-Semitism when others simply wouldn't.
What I have a hard time of understanding, and I've lived here over 20 years, is that New York City is the economic engine for the state of New York. I mean, that's where the revenue, the tax revenue is coming in. Yet, the people that you're working with in Albany, on the other side of the aisle, unfortunately, seem to have something against the city of New York. They've done nothing to stop whether it was subway crime or this congestion pricing disaster. What is the culture in Albany, and why is it like this?
You have a few factions. You have the socialists, you have the Democrats, and you have the Republicans. The socialists have been dictating the conversations throughout the past couple of years since they've taken a supermajority here. They have prioritized taking money from some New Yorkers, giving it to others, spending with no end in sight. It's a race to the left with no finish line.
Well, so you sued to end congestion pricing in New York City. The Trump administration is standing by. They put down this April 20th deadline for the city to end the toll. I'm not sure that's going to happen, though. The New York Post Marina Devine reports that Hochul actually threatened President Trump during an Oval Office meeting on congestion pricing. She warned that she has control of state judges, as the president, as we know, is attempting to appeal his nearly $500 million fraud penalty. Governor's press secretary responded and said this: Governor Hochul has never said this or anything similar to President Trump or anyone. Someone must have completely misheard the governor during this conversation, or they're purposely lying to advance a political agenda. What's your reaction to that?
I am taking Governor Hochul to federal court on behalf of the people of my district and New York, because this congestion pricing needs to end. Secretary Duffy had a mandate within his order that they have to turn off the cameras. They have to give relief to New Yorkers. This is double taxation. It is ridiculous to think that this is a solution to the MTA. I started this mission against congestion pricing and the MTA because there is no forensic audit with oversight from the body that provides them billions of dollars a year. They spend an absorbent amount of money. They have a 70,000 person staff, and we continue to have a lack of oversight, and that needs to change. We need to see where the money's going before we keep throwing good money after bad towards the MTA without providing safety. You're going to get pushed in front of the subway. You don't feel safe when you're on the subway. That needs to change.
Fare evasion.
Fair evasion.
Simplest things they don't know how to handle. And now, instead of having mental institutions here in the city, the subway is now the mental institution of the city.
Unfortunately, New York continues to create bad policies without replacing them with good ones.
Yeah, Mac.
And I have to ask, so in addition to your lawsuit, what do you think about the claim that we're continuing to see Hochul help these activist rogue judges work against the people? Do you think that's why her polling is down? Is this also lawfare another big issue in your state?
I think they continue to use lawfare because when they can't get their way in the legislature, they try to get their way in the courts. At the end of the day, the system is broken. We need to come to solutions. We need leaders like Elise, leaders who are willing to put the people of New York first, the people of Long Island, of Westchester first, and not put the people in penthouses here in New York City above everybody else.
It's interesting that you say that. So, New York Attorney General Letitia James has now responded after she was referred to the DOJ for possible prosecution over suspected mortgage fraud. This has been a big story this week that we brought to our viewers actually yesterday. James's office came out with this statement. Attorney General James focused every single day on protecting New Yorkers, especially as the administration weaponizes the federal government. She will not be intimidated, by bullies, no matter who they are. Documents from the Federal Housing Finance Agency are accusing her of falsifying records to receive favorable loan terms. She's also accused of listing a Virginia home as her primary residence and then listing her father as her husband on mortgage applications. What do you make of this?
I think that no one would blink twice, but unfortunately our top cop, Tish James, has made political lawfare a priority of her term as our AG. She went after President Trump in what is a laughable case to anybody who is in the business of real estate, in the business of providing loans. No one asked for that case. She felt it was necessary to do because of lawfare. At the end of the day, if she wants to play those games, we need to make sure that there was no impropriety. I think that we've seen she's done something very similar here if the cases that they allege are true. I'd like to see a full-fledged investigation to make sure that, to use her words, nobody, no matter how powerful, is above the law.
I do want to ask you about former Governor Andrew Cuomo. He remains the Democratic frontrunner to replace Eric Adams for the New York City mayoral race, even though Eric Adams is still running. A New York and Santa College poll among Democratic primary voters has Cuomo at 34%, with Assemblyman and self-described socialist Zoran Mamdani in a distant second. Cuomo got strong support from people 50 and older and from voters without a college degree. How do you see this playing out? Because I also want to mention here that Eric Adams, we've just learned, has got $3 million in legal bills right now, and he is not going to be running on the Democratic primary ticket.
So New York, for those who don't understand, have a ranked choice voting system here too. So name recognition is imperative to make sure you can get across the finish line because you choose your first, second, third favorite choice. You have a race right now between a few individuals. You have Cuomo, who was our governor, and when he was governor, he created the green light law, which is our sanctuary city status that we're dealing with the immigration crisis we have now. He created the bail reform laws and discovery changes that have become an extreme issue for public safety here in New York. He needs to answer those questions if he's going to be the moderate in this race. And then you have Zoran Mamdani, as I mentioned before, the socialists, the DSA. They are a pervasive threat. They are looking to burn this city down. They create an agenda based on giving free for everybody with no budget, no limitations, and it is so destructive to the people of New York. We need to fight back against this and make sure we find a solution or a candidate who can finally take down some of these major crises we face.
So obviously there's a lot. Please keep us posted on the congestion pricing lawsuit as
Absolutely.
well. Because to your point, it hurts the middle class. It hurts teachers, firefighters, cops, those that need to come into the city to work, including, I'm sure, many that are in your district.
Cheryl, these people are suffering, and we need relief for them once and for all.
Yeah, a financial break would be helpful. Assemblyman Jake Blumencranz, thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Nice to have you on set.